This one is starring Brad Pitt. It has an Oscar nomination in it. It is about general managing. It is about making phone calls. It is about everything except playing baseball. It is about meetings. It's theoretically the least interesting part about baseball, but one of the most important parts about baseball in terms of player development, player acquisition. All of that sounds incredibly boring, but in the hands of the filmmakers in this case, and Brad Pitt as Billy Beane, who is the real life then and now general manager of the Oakland, potentially Las Vegas Athletics A's, Billy Beane. So this is a film that I didn't know if I would like it when it first came out. It follows the A's as they try and compete financially with teams like the New York Yankees. The A's have never been able to compete financially with the bigger markets like LA and New York. So they've had to figure out other ways to try and win. And in this case, we see Jonah Hill come into the picture to try and use sabermetrics or math to try and figure out the most economic way to compete realistically as a baseball team with the Yankees and Dodgers and other teams that can pay a lot more money to baseball players. So I love the character work in this film. It's not all just math and backroom deals. It's a lot of good character work, too. You see Brad Pitt's journey as Billy Beane. All of this put together with a surprising Oscar nomination for a sports film, which you really don't see very often. All of that is why Moneyball is my number 8 film on this list. What are your thoughts on Moneyball?
Well, I'm an Oakland guy, I'm LA, but I love the story. I love that. I'm one of these guys who looks at a film and say, wow, that was him. The guy who played Mark Hadenberg, who had a huge home run in a 20-game winning streak, is Chris Pratt, who became this huge Jurassic Park franchise, and it's an overall good guy. So you saw a lot of guys in that film that played roles, again, like I talked about Danny Gans in Bull Durham, that went on to big careers after that. My favorite scene in that movie is when Brad Pitt's character, the A's are losing, and they walks in the locker room, and Jason Giambi's character, or Jason Giambi, they're all going crazy and laughing, and he takes the bats and he throws them down, and he goes, you know what the effing sound of losing is? And it's quiet, because that's what you should sound like, because they're all excited about losing, and they're losing games, and they're partying in the locker room. I love that. I like everything. I love Billy Beane's, Brad Pitt's portrayal of a guy that battled the system, the old school of scouts. And it's the first film that talked about what we use nowadays in the NFL, analytics. Jonah Hill was an analytics guy. Don't you agree, Dragon Movie guy? And that showed you, and they found guys like Mark Hadenberg's, Chris Pratt's character, and say, hey, this guy could hit. This guy is this is what Jonah Hill did that really sold me on the film, is he said, look at this guy, what he does when it's a 2-1 pitch. He takes it to a full count, or he makes contact. And that's why they were successful.
Yeah, and also it's one of those things too where Brad Pitt, the movie star, with his movie star looks, actually does reflect Billy Beane and how good-looking Billy Beane is in real life, especially when he was coming out of high school, coming out of college, and being considered to be drafted. Because, a little bit of a spoiler here, but Billy Beane was actually a first-round draft pick back in the day. Everyone loved him because he's the good-looking guy, and who doesn't love the big, strong, good-looking guy who's the first-round draft pick? And Billy Beane washed out and didn't have the kind of career that I think all the scouts using traditional scouting methods used, and one of those was how good-looking he is. Oh my God, he looks like Brad Pitt. 20 years before anyone knows who Brad Pitt is. So he must be a first-round draft pick. I love that Billy Beane actually used that real-life experience that he went through that worked to his advantage as a kid coming up. And that informs and impacts his decisions that he makes as a general manager 25, 30 years later.
It showed the humbleness of the guy. The guy drove a truck, and you said spoils. At the end of the film, the Red Sox offer him 12. John Henry, played by, Arliss, what's his name? It was great. Arliss Howard. You know,
Oh yeah, Robert Wool.
yeah, who's married to Deborah Winger. Here we go, name dropping here on the Dragon Movie Guys Baseball Show. Yeah, well, he wasn't Robert Wool. John Henry offers him $12 million a year, and he turns it down. Rumor has it, you know, I used to work for the Raiders and for AOL back in '98 through 2002. Billy Beane was so good at what he did. There are huge rumors that I could verify that Al Davis made a move to bring him into the Raider organization, because if you're that good, then why not? You know, you could do this for football also, and that's what it showed. And it showed what kind of good guy he was. And again, he was so humble. Loved his daughter. His daughter, by the way, I can't think of the actress's name, but she had a nice little role in Ray Donovan as a daughter. So, and then, oh, by the way, his wife in the film was Robin Wright. You know,
Oh
so
yeah,
yeah,
Jenny.
she had a small role, but I love films like that. I don't, you could tell me who wrote and directed it, but films like that that attract stars to do 5 lines means that the script is really good. That's why I've always thought you can have more conjecture on that.
Yeah, if you know, I'm sure Hollywood, like anything else, is it's big business and everyone kind of knows each other. So anytime you can get stars to get other stars to come in, do a day of shooting, and do a favor for their friend, it's usually a good sign for the film, or oftentimes can be a good sign for the film. And Robin Wright coming in and doing that, that probably what probably was a one-day shoot for Moneyball. Yeah, another example of doing a favor, but also, yeah, probably reading a script and going, wow, this is actually a pretty good script to read.